The world is full of urban legends, remarkable stories that spread like viruses around the planet, mutating and evolving until no one can remember which ones are true and which ones are urban legends. In this episode called Blink of an Eye, we show you 3 stories, all linked by sudden turns of circumstance. First up, the weight of one Ohio woman's hoarding addiction becomes too much to bear. Then, a popular Manitoba DJ puts himself in a tight spot when he vanishes without a trace. And finally, a Michigan medical student comes to severely regret her decision to give in to peer pressure. Watch all 3 stories and decide which urban legends are true and which ones are false. Find out if you guessed right at the end of the show. First, it's a story we like to call Toy Trap. Lanka Sullivan takes time to appreciate the little things in life. She knows how quickly it can all flash before your eyes.
I thought we were going to die there, for sure.
In 2005, the golden retirement years weren't turning out the way Lanka had imagined. A bizarre obsession is taking over her life.
I like little dolls, I like big dolls, I like anything that comes my way. I think I'm a collector. My husband, Ralph, actually calls me a hoarder.
Lanka fuels her addiction by scouring garage sales, filling her house to the brim.
Our house became one huge library of collections, except it was full. We didn't have much space to live there. Basically, the collections have taken over the house.
Ralph pleads with her to clear some space.
I was really stubborn, and I said, no way. You know, I can't get rid of my babies. So poor Ralph had no chance.
Lanka has accumulated over 5,000 dolls. It seems like nothing can stop her. Until one fateful day, a week before Christmas.
I had this really nice doll that I was going to put into the decorations, so I knew exactly where my doll was. It was 3rd row to the right, and then up about 6 feet. I started pulling it out with the ruler, and it wouldn't come.
Lanka has no idea she is toying with disaster.
All of a sudden, everything tumbled. And I fell off the little stool, and more boxes were falling on me. And I think I finally lost consciousness.
Lanka has disappeared. It takes almost an hour for Ralph to notice. He finds her under a mountain of toys. Ralph rushes to his wife's rescue. But this weird toy story isn't over yet. Lanka and Ralph are entombed by half a ton of dollies, and there's no one to hear their desperate cries for help. For nearly 2 days, no one hears anything from the Sullivans.
The neighbors started noticing that the newspapers were accumulating. They hadn't heard anything about them leaving. So at one point, they called me. And so obviously, I became quite worried.
Jeremy phones his parents to find out what's going on.
Usually, if you leave a message, you'll call me back immediately.
Give me a call, put my mind at ease.
And a day went by, nothing. At that point, I got in contact with the police.
Mom?
There's no answer at the door.
Dad, Mom!
Things are looking bleak for the Sullivans. Eventually, Jeremy finds his father under the landslide of boxes. But where is his mother?
I started calling out her name. I couldn't see her whatsoever. She was completely hidden.
Can you move?
Amazingly, they've survived with no water or food. But they're in bad shape.
I don't remember them finding me at all. I think Jeremy must have been really frantic.
Jeremy still can't believe how this happened.
I was really worried for their well-being. They're both older, and it had been a lot of trauma.
Oh, they managed. Oh, my gosh.
After Ralph and Lenka spent a few days recovering at the hospital, Jeremy moves them into his house. He isn't taking any chances.
I told her immediately that this would mean that we would have to get rid of most of her stuff.
It was hard, because I was still very much attached to the collections. But I couldn't risk another disaster like this.
Jeremy and Ralph start the mountainous task of dealing with the mess.
Basically, I had no idea how to get rid of the stuff.
But under the dark cloud, there appears to be a silver lining.
One of my friends owns an antique store. He knew different subjects, dolls, for instance, 1960s memorabilia. And so when he came over, as we were going through the stuff, he basically came to the conclusion that this would actually be worth something.
Incredibly, Lenka's junk isn't junk at all.
I couldn't believe it. And he said, they sold all your stuff, all your collections. Some of the pieces were quite valuable.
After everything had sold, we'd made a little bit over $500,000. My mom was able to find a golden parachute. That's great. It's like a second life tour.
You're rich, you can travel.
Did you guys even realize what you had down there?
A retired couple survived being buried by her obsessive collection, only to discover the objects that nearly killed them have made them rich. But did it happen? You'll have to wait till the end of the show to find out. Mini myth number 3,791. I don't believe it. In 1970s Russia, a short-sighted boy with thick glasses got into a playground fight and ended up punched in the face. His old-style Soviet spec smashed and sharp glass went into his cornea. Things looked bleak, but his surgeon, Dr. Fyodorov, was astonished to see the accidental shaving of the eye had actually improved the boy's sight, and this gave him an idea. Laser eye surgery was born. So, did we pull the wool over your eyes? It was in fact true. And laser eye surgery has since become a global phenomenon. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 stories. You have to decide which ones really happened and which ones are merely legends. So far, you've seen the tale of Lenka Sullivan's near-death avalanche of collectibles, which ended up being worth $500,000. But is it true or false? Find out at the end of the show. Now it's time for our next story. It's called Turntables of Terror. Nightclub owner Quentin Towns has heard a lot of crazy stories. But nothing tops the mysterious tale of a DJ named Eduardo Sanchez.
The whole city was talking about it. It was a big thing. It's a very strange story.
It was a mystery that would haunt the city and include a horrifying twist.
He was quite a well-known DJ. It was quite a scene going on back then.
Until one night, when the unexplainable happened.
You don't just disappear off the face of the earth with no sign whatsoever.
His disappearance would baffle friends, family, and eventually stunned even hardened police and investigators. Back in 2002, Eduardo is a DJ on the rise at a popular Winnipeg dance club.
Everything was looking forward for him. Everything was going good.
After a set one October night, Eduardo unwinds with friends until he discovers he's low on cash.
We went out to have a cigarette and use the bank machine.
Pals of Eduardo were drifting off to a house party, and they had invited him, and he said, no, I'm not gonna go.
Eduardo can't possibly know he's about to become one of the strangest mysteries in Winnipeg history. Suddenly, he vanishes without a trace.
And he disappeared, and that was it.
Eduardo's parents reported to the police, but they doubt anything bad has happened.
Eduardo did not have an enemy in the world.
But where is he? Could Eduardo just be playing a string of parties? Has he run away? Or could something terrible have happened? Eduardo's friends offer a simple explanation.
He was DJing lots of parties back then, so it wasn't odd to disappear for a day or two.
Weeks pass without a word.
So police started checking phone records, the ATM records, his internet account.
Investigating the disappearance of Eduardo Sanchez.
But there's no trace. Even Eduardo's friends are forced to admit something must be seriously wrong.
It's quite extensive search, actually, through social networking sites. A lot of DJs put up posters.
The search turns up nothing.
Nobody knew what was happening to him. There was a lot of different rumors going around.
Concerned, police decide to turn the club upside down.
Did a full search of the building, end to end.
But even an exhaustive search fails to find a single clue. What could have happened to Eduardo?
It's like he disappeared off the face of the earth.
A full year passes without word from Eduardo. At the club, life returns to normal, almost.
The province came in and said there's not going to be any more smoking in public places indoors.
But as smoke clears, the air quality at the club somehow gets worse. The smoke had been masking a disgusting smell.
When we couldn't locate it in the building, we weren't sure exactly what it was.
No one can explain it, but someone calls the police.
They figured it was a pigeon or a squirrel or something that crawled in the ducts.
The cops decide to take a closer look.
They had these little cameras, so they started shoving them everywhere they could.
But the ducts are old, and they soon run into a problem.
I guess it got snagged on something and fell in the basement.
The expensive camera tumbles into the worst possible place, behind a false wall.
You've got a concrete wall with a drywall wall built in front of it.
No one can fit into the space. Not wanting to lose the pricey camera, they take drastic action.
And they broke a hole through the wall where they figured the camera would be.
See that?
They make a horrific discovery.
He's in there.
It's the body of Eduardo Sanchez.
In a sense, he became mummified.
He was in there for 14 months and he, I guess, pretty much dried up.
But how did Eduardo get there? The autopsy produces a surprise result. There was no foul play. Eduardo did this to himself.
The thinking is he had wedged himself in so far that he just lost the ability to breathe and suffocated.
But why would he go behind the false wall?
Yo, somebody!
Had someone chased him there? Was he trying to play a bizarre prank?
There was that speculation at that night he had started, taking drugs, ecstasy.
Ecstasy is known as the hug drug. It feels good to be in a tight embrace. Maybe Eduardo got a similar feeling by squeezing into the small space.
I really don't have any clue why anybody would or how anybody would go in there. It's almost incredible that he got that far.
As the city searches in vain for answers, one last horror is revealed.
The worst part about Eduardo missing was the place he was trapped. This area in the basement was used as a break room quite a bit, and people were going down there.
These were Eduardo's best friends, the very people who wanted to find him the most.
Little did we know, within the hand's reach, within 6 inches, he was in the wall that whole time.
This is one of the stories you just don't forget.
The disappearance of a popular DJ seems fated to remain a mystery until friends realize the answers right under their noses. But did it happen? Find out at the end of the show. Mini-myth number 5116, the blow-dried bunny. Linda Rohn from Fairfax, Virginia, owned a dog who was highly unpopular in her neighborhood. One afternoon, the mutt returned home with their neighbor's cherished pet rabbit, dead in its mouth. Horrified, Linda cleaned up the bunny, fluffing up its fur with a hairdryer before sneaking it back into its hutch. A few hours later, Linda heard screams from next door. She rushed to the backyard to be told by her neighbor that their rabbit had died that morning, but was now back in its cage. Is this story true, or are we boiling your bunny? It was totally fake. Although this story hit the headlines back in 1988, it just isn't true. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 incredible stories. Your job is to sort the terrifically true from the farcically false. So far, you've seen the tale of Lenka Sullivan, who was buried under her own toy collection. and the story of the popular DJ who accidentally mummified himself in his own tomb. But which ones are real and which ones are fake? All will be revealed at the end of the show. In the meantime, watch our final tale. We've named it Stiff Story. Michelle North is a Michigan doctor who looks back fondly on her education.
Medical school was great. It was a totally new experience for me.
But one disturbing incident would leave her completely traumatized.
I still remember just feeling the blood drain from my face and like my heart pounding in my chest.
This macabre tale began in 2001 when Michelle, a first-year medical student, began studying human cadavers.
Everybody knows to expect that gross anatomy is going to be, number one, intense, and number two, gross. There is the expectation that we're going to be faced with dead bodies the minute we walk in the door.
Pairs of students are assigned their own cadaver for the duration of the semester.
For the first 95% of the lab, the head is covered, and that is to protect us from that realization that that cadaver is actually a person.
It doesn't always work.
It's truly the most morbid experience. The smell and the feel and the cold of the area was totally overwhelming.
But Michelle hasn't seen anything yet. As time passes, Michelle and the students become desensitized and more comfortable around the body,
Michelle?
especially her lab partner.
Tom was the guy who played all the jokes and definitely pushing people's buttons. Like, he pushed mine a lot, for sure. I was working on a dissection of the radial artery, and I looked over expecting to see my classmate. But instead, there was this pale, lifeless, cadaveric arm resting on my shoulder.
Michelle is not impressed.
You know, their owners had donated their bodies because they believed in science, and that it disrespected them and it devalued what they'd done.
Stop!
Michelle's ethics make her the perfect target for Tom's antics.
We were doing a dissection of the groin area, and as I was working on it, the cadaver essentially had an erection. Tom had inserted a catheter earlier on through the male genitalia and was inflating it from the inside.
Come on.
I was just really disgusted. It was inappropriate and disrespectful.
The rest of the class thinks the joke is hilarious and that Michelle needs to chill out.
Michelle, what? Oh, it's just a joke. She's not a joke.
I felt really pushed. I felt a lot of pressure to partake. Ultimately, I realized that if I wanted to be part of this class, I had to do something to show them that I was in.
A few weeks later, Michelle goes against her instincts and decides to join in on the fun.
I have to say it was hilarious. I was finally part of something that people really liked.
But Michelle is torn.
There's still that side of me that was really focused on the seriousness of what we were doing. I would waffle back and forth between enjoying myself and then feeling really guilty.
Try not to electrocute yourself, okay?
Despite her misgivings, Michelle participates in another stunt, and it's the most outrageous one yet.
Tom had created a scheme whereby we would attach electrodes to the light switch and then connect them secretly to the cadaver. And what that meant is, one night, when the janitor flipped on the light switch, all of a sudden sits up, bolt upright, completely freaking out the janitor. Yeah, I felt bad, but at the same time, it was really funny.
Yes, sir.
2 weeks later, Michelle shows up to class, oblivious to what she's about to face.
We had come to the end of the semester, and it was the very last body segment that we were to dissect, the face and the head.
When the bandages are peeled away, Michelle sees something that gives her nightmares to this day.
Oh my God.
I was completely taken aback. And my classmates knew that there was something wrong, but I could barely muster up the effort to tell them that the person that we've been playing all these horrible, hilarious, disgusting pranks on all semester was my uncle.
It's my
He'd passed away just a month before the anatomy lab had started. I just felt horrible. I had let him down. You know, I'd compromised my integrity by playing those pranks on them. And not only that, but the end result was that I'd done it on somebody that I loved.
A student gives into peer pressure and unknowingly plays morbid pranks with her own uncle's corpse. But did it happen? It's time to reveal the truth about our 3 incredible stories. First up, it's a story of Lanka Sullivan, whose hoarding habit nearly buried her alive. But she survived to discover that her collection was worth $500,000. But is it fact or fiction?
I never thought something like this could happen to me. And it didn't. My name is Svatka Hermanek, and the story is a fake.
This story is fake, but hoarders are popular fodder for modern internet folklore. Next, it's the tale of popular DJ Eduardo Sanchez, who disappeared for 14 months, only to be found mummified behind a false wall.
Hi, I'm Bruce Owen. I'm a reporter with the Winnipeg Free Press, and this is a true story.
This story is terrifyingly true, and no one will ever know what Eduardo was doing behind the wall. Which leaves the unbelievable tale of Michelle North, who joined into a classroom prank, only to discover that the cadaver used was her own uncle. But is it true?
So I did finish medical school and went on to become a doctor. But this story is not true.
This story is indeed fake. Cadaver stories are very popular urban legends, especially among medical students, as a way of distancing themselves. That's the end of our episode called Blink of an Eye. Were you able to unmask the revealing real from the foolishly fake? Don't worry if you couldn't. You'll get another chance to separate fact from fiction in the next installment of